review the Stack's Bowers June 2020 auction to take a look at some of the more interesting coins that were on offer. And let's start off with an interesting Conda token of the New York-based firm of Talbot, Allum and Lee, dated 1795. Now, these were actually minted in Birmingham and intended as store tokens to use to the value of 1 cent each. However, they vastly overestimated the amount of tokens that they would require, and then in 1795, William Talbot sold 52,000 of these tokens to the Philadelphia Mint, who then in turn used them to mint 1795 and 1797 half-cent coins. This is a surviving example that PCGS graded as MS65 Brown and sold at auction for $1,680. Most everyone would be aware of the special circulating Bicentennial commemorative coins issued to celebrate the nation's 200th birthday in 1976. However, the Mint also issued special collectible medals in both bronze, silver, and gold to celebrate the occasion, with the gold medals of 1976 being available in 3 sizes, of which this was by far the largest at 3 inches in diameter. Of the 423 of these large gold medals that were distributed, with each one being numbered sequentially, this one in fact being number 6 in the sequence, this example was sold at auction for $26,400. It can certainly be said that the Marquis de Lafayette has certainly lived an interesting and eventful life. Born into the French aristocracy, he came to America to fight in the Revolutionary War against the British, becoming close friends with George Washington during that time. He was a participant in pivotal battles such as the Battle of Brandywine, Valley Forge, and indeed the Siege of Yorktown itself, to name but a few. After returning to France, he again played a role in the French Revolution and then much later again in the July Revolution of 1830. But in 1824, he again returned to the United States at the invitation of Congress and President James Monroe. He would eventually tour what were all 24 states at that time, taking nearly a year and a half to do so, receiving literally a hero's welcome absolutely everywhere he went. These Counterstruck coins were made as keepsakes for those occasions and were known mainly on large cents, but a few of them were also struck on larger denominations such as this $half-dollar coin as well, counterstamped with Washington on one side and Lafayette on the other. This exceptional piece was sold at auction for $26,400. Now, I mentioned that the usual host coin for something like this would have been a large cent, and well, here is just such an example as well. This time, counterstamped on an 1822 matronhead large cent. Also, still in an absolutely fantastic condition, and this example sold for $7,200. Which actually reminds me of another bizarre little counterstamped coin, the Vote the Land Free stamped on the obverse of a 1843 seated Liberty Quarter. Now, according to Q. David Bowers in his book More Adventures with Rare Coins, these were actually created by something called the National Reform Association, who advocated giving free land to homesteaders, prohibiting seizure for land as a result of non-payment of debt, and reducing the portion of land owned by the wealthy. Mostly apparently seen on large cents. Again, this quarter is, according to the source literature, apparently unique, and $7,800 was the closing bid for this piece at auction. Probably the most apt description that I can recall ever hearing of the Vermont Republic was as the Reluctant Republic, rebuking British rule and declaring itself as independent in 1777, but not officially joining the Union as the 14th state until 1791. In that 14-year gap, it managed to have a functioning government, operated a postal system, and issued its own coins as well, known today as the Vermont Coppers. Now, the design of this later issue coin is obviously derivative of the British halfpenny that was still in circulation at that time, although I've heard it speculated that the image of Britannia is here replaced with a similarly styled depiction of Ceres instead, the Roman goddess of agriculture and fertility. Obviously, though, a not entirely so subtle ploy to ensure that the coin would be viable outside of this state as well. This is a so-called baby head Vermont copper variety owing to the infantile appearance of the bust on the obverse of the coin, where the reef's placement was so low that the ribbon appears to be tying a bib around the figure's neck instead. Graded by PCGS as AU53, this historically important coin was sold at auction for $28,800. Another example of a Vermont copper that was on offer was this landscape design example, where the obverse depicts a sunrise over the Green Mountains and a plow in the foreground. The inscription translates as Vermont Republic. Meanwhile, the reverse is almost a complete copy of the Nova Constellatio coins, complete with 13 stars, and interestingly, the inscription of Stella Quartadecima translates as the 14th star, a clear allusion to the state's bid for admission to the Union as the 14th state. Authenticated by PCGS as XF40, this coin sold for $14,400. And if you like error coins, then you are going to absolutely love this specimen. A Lincoln cent overstruck on a Saint-Gaudens dollar coin, creating a double denomination of $1 and 1 cent. Now, I won't go into too much detail about this coin here, as I've already made a dedicated video about it that you can watch now by clicking on the little eye in the top right hand side of your screen if you like. Suffice to say, graded by PCGS as MS66, the coin sold at auction for $38,400. The first 2 decades of the 20th century did not only represent a renaissance period for American numismatics, but was also the closing years of a greater, overarching renaissance of American art and architecture as well. Few artists managed to embody this period in a more enduring fashion than Augustus Saint-Gaudens, who of course also designed our beloved Saint-Gaudens double eagle. Borrowing from his earlier work, the obverse is in fact an adaptation of his Marching Victory, or the winged Nike figure, which today stands at the Sherman Memorial in Manhattan. This is the wire rim variety of that 1907 high-relief coin, still retaining the original Roman numerals before they were replaced with the more familiar Hindu-Arabic numerals. Graded by PCGS as MS66+, this legendary coin sold at auction for $96,000. Another prime example of these Renaissance-era coins are the 1915 Panama Pacific Exposition commemorative coins, designed by Robert Atkins, who is perhaps best remembered for designing the west pediment of the Supreme Court building in Washington. The look and especially the feel of these octagonal $50 coins harken back to antiquity, especially predominant issues of ancient Greece and Athena in particular. As the exposition was held in San Francisco, the obverse echoes that state seal with the image of the goddess Minerva wearing a crested Corinthian helm pushed back to symbolize peaceful intent. Minerva, or her Greek counterpart Athena, was often used throughout Western history to symbolize wisdom, skillful contemplation, peace, and democracy itself. The reverse depicts an owl, also a symbol of wisdom, resting on a nestle of Penderosa pine, with the dolphins around the border symbolizing the now seamless ocean route made possible by the opening of the Panama Canal. Graded as MS64 by PCGS, this coin sold at auction for $90,000. The 1823, or more technically the 1823/2 capped bust quarter dollar, is a coin that is deceptive in so many ways on the surface of it. For one thing, the overdate variety is not actually a variety at all, as every known example of an 1823 quarter dollar is known with the overdate type, and it was likely the only dies used for this type in that year, which then leads us directly into the mintage figure. The stated and accepted mintage figure is 17,800 coins, and has been such ever since, well, at least Montreal Dickinson wrote his American Numismatic Manual in 1859. The problem, however, with that, as we know today, is that those numbers include all of the coins delivered in that calendar year of 1823, which also includes coins dated and even minted in 1822. Seeing as how only around 35 coins are left surviving today, that number does seem a bit optimistic, and the actual amount of 1823 coins struck was likely just a mere fraction of that. This beautiful example was graded by PCGS as XF45 and sold at auction here for $102,000. Let me know what your thoughts are on these coins in the comment section below. Subscribe to WNN and activate notifications with the bell icon so you'll know when new videos are released. For the World Numismatic News, I'm Numisman saying thank you for watching, stay safe, keep collecting, and have a fantastic day.